right, David Pollack, let's get right into this. You're a three-time All-American football player who played at Georgia. You played in the NFL for 2 years. You're now a college football analyst for ESPN's GameDay. I love watching you on TV, by the way. You're amazing. But you're also really passionate about youth sports. I want to understand where this passion comes from.
Well, obviously, teaching the game and learning the game at a young age is something that you see a lot of parents get into, and too much, I think, sometimes. And it's about learning, and it's about getting your kids so good so fast, and trying to make them score and make them do this and make them do that. And you know, I started coaching kind of with friends and kind of off to the side, and then I was like, you know what, I want to kind of start getting more involved in this. And I never wanted to be a dad that pushed my kid and made him play sports. So my son's very different than a lot of kids, and wasn't like a natural. He's not like a natural competitor by any stretch of the imagination. So having him, he's really taught me how to deal with all kinds of kids and how to just push them to have great effort and to understand the game and to understand what it's about. It's not about them scoring touchdowns. It's not about them hitting home runs, and it's not about them hitting three-pointers. And it's not about winning. And when I say that, I understand the context behind that. I'm not an everybody gets a trophy guy. I can promise you that. But it's about giving maximum effort. And the one thing that I always stress to my kids, and that I will continue to stress, it's not about being perfect. It's about being perfect in your effort. And that's something that has to be shared. And that's why I'm passionate about my kids and working with them, and whether it be football or basketball, and just teaching them the appreciation of how to give effort, how to deal with failure, how to deal with all these things. That's why I'm a fan of youth league sports, is because youth league sports teaches them lessons that's going to help them grow to be good people, to be good dads, to be good fathers, to be good husbands, to be good wives, to be good friends, all that stuff. So that's why I enjoy it so much.
But a lot of people say today that youth sports is crazier than ever. The parents are acting crazy. Coaches are really not coaching the right way. Kids have more pressure on them than ever. What is wrong with youth sports?
Well, I think that people think that their kids should be great, and they want to push them, and they want them to be X, Y, and Z, instead of just meeting the kid kind of where they're at and helping them have success and helping them love the game. Instead of worrying about performance, it should be about effort. Instead of worrying about all the stuff you can worry about, it should be worrying about fun. Because when you picked up youth league sports when you were little, it's because you love the game. You play because you love the game. And now it's oh my God, it's even worse than that, John. How about private coaches every day of the week and 3 days a week? And if you don't get on this travel ball team, you're going to be behind. Guess what, bro? If you're good enough, you're good enough. It's not going to matter in the end. Your travel ball team won't dictate your success in the end. I mean, that's one of the biggest misnomers I've ever heard, is people saying, I got to be on this team, and I got to do this, and I got to travel this many weeks out of the year because of this. And it's not true. I mean, the bottom line, just like me growing up is an example. My parents didn't put me on all these travel ball teams, and they didn't get me private lessons to try to make me great. My parents let me have fun. My parents let the game come to me, and they let me enjoy it. And you know what? That was more valuable than all the five-star kids that I played with at Georgia. And in the end, I was more successful because I loved the game, because I worked for the game. It wasn't something that was old hat. It wasn't something that I've done for so long that I got bored of. It's something that I loved and had a huge passion for. So I think the fun element has to be the number one element. These kids aren't going to – my goal for my daughter – here's an example, John. We just did a draft, and I'm in the draft room. And this is a draft for 7 and 8 year old girls, by the way. So just keep that in mind. I mean, it's so interesting. So they take these girls through 15 seconds of an evaluation. At the end of the evaluation, they're ranked a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1. I go in the room. We gotta draft all the 4s first. We got to draft all the 3s next, all the 2s next. So it's my turn to draft. Here's what I know. I know what girls are in my small group. I know what girls are my girls' friends. I told the people, I was like, I want to draft this person. They're like, no, you have to draft in order. You have to draft the 4s first. I said, listen, let me be very clear. I don't care about winning. Like, my goal in my girls' basketball this year is for my daughter to play next year. Like, that's my goal. It's not to dominate a league that is 7 and 8 year olds. I don't care about that. The bottom line is we forecast, and my kid's going to be this. You have no clue what your kid's going to be. You don't know what they're going to grow up to be. You don't know what kind of personality they're going to have. You don't know how tall they are. Like, help them have fun and help them have success now, not what you think success is going to look like in the future.
Why are we as parents so stressed out about this? Like, why do we care so much?
We care more than they care. And that's a fact, by the way, because I had so many parents that I've worked with in the past, especially the old group of friends that we left because of a lot of this stuff, is that they cared so much and they got so upset and they yelled at the other coaches and they were so yelling at the kids and they wouldn't even play the kids the 10-play requirement, which is beyond anything I've ever heard of. Like, all the kids need to experience this and have good relationships. And listen, if you see a 7-year-old kid, John, an 8-year-old kid, a 9-year-old kid, as soon as the game's over, they might be upset for 15 seconds. They're gone. Like, they're on the bubble gum. They're on to something else that they're perfectly happy. They're not upset. They're not letting that harvest and letting that stew inside of them, and they're just so ticked off and X, Y, and Z. Kids forget quick. They don't care that much. Like, they had fun. They tried. Like, that's that. All right, well, it's over. And that's more of the message we should be sending, as opposed to, listen, I have to deal with it with my son. My son, he'll get angry when he loses, and he gets upset when he loses sometimes. I'm like, bro, I get it. I love your attitude. I love that you care. But once it's gone, it's gone. And that's the lessons that the parents teach the kids. The parents show them, like, they're upset and their night's ruined, and they're going to talk about it the whole way home and blah, blah, blah. And the kids 99% of the time are like, all right, pass me that figurine over there and pass me the Lego. I just want to play.
Yep. So as parents, what can we do better than, if you're a parent, well, you are a parent,
yeah,
but what should we do? Like, coach me right now, because I had 2 kids in youth sports. My daughter was a lacrosse player. I made mistakes along the way. I know I'm not perfect. I wish I was better then, but I've learned a lot. But if you're coaching me and I'm a youth sport parent, what would you tell me?
First of all, I still make mistakes as well. And I still have moments where I fail because I care so much and I want my son or my daughter to care so much. And I'll have to go back to them and apologize. So I don't have it all figured out. I'm not going to proclaim to. My biggest advice would be, don't define success for your kids. And what that means for me is, if you get in a car, John, and your first response is, oh my God, your home run was amazing, you define success for your kid. It's praise, it's pats on the back for a home run. That shot you hit was amazing. The steal you had was amazing. That touchdown was amazing. When I get in the car, we don't talk about the plays my son made or my daughter made. Did you have fun? Yeah. Did you try as hard as you can? Yeah. I love you regardless. I love to watch you perform. I love to watch you play sports. It is so much fun. I enjoy watching you. But when you talk about all those successful meters and marks, now if you go play a basketball game and they didn't hit a 3, John, oh, well, they didn't have success. Oh, they didn't hit a home run. They didn't hit a double. They didn't have success. And so to me, it's always those questions and those comments. It's always, did you have fun? Did you try as hard as you can? And I just want you to know that I love you and I love watching you perform.
So, David, we talked about what parents could do better, and if you were coaching me, what you would say to me. But also, like, again, why do parents care so much? Why are they defining their kids' life by their success on the sports field when many of these kids are not going to play pro sports? What is it, and where does that sabotage come from?
I think it's their competitiveness too, because a lot of us are hyper competitive and we want our kids to be successful. Now, listen, I'm around a lot of parents that I can tell they want it for their kid because they didn't have it. They want it badly for their kid. Like, they didn't play sports and they feel like, oh man, I really want to give them every opportunity because I wasn't afforded that opportunity. And I get that. But what they also don't realize, and here's another thing that's pretty cool, is I play basketball with a lot of the parents that I coach, and we play in a league, in church league, and et cetera. And I'll tell them, I'll be like, see, you just messed that up. Well, your son X, by the way, he messes that up too. And we don't sit here and crucify you for messing it up, but you have a tendency to yell at him. And so I think if we can tell parents to not define success for them and to to be cheerleaders and to cheer them up. Like, I want to be my son's fan. Like, I want to be somebody that he can come to and say, my dad's always got my back. And, you know, another good lesson for coaches, don't coach your son. And when I say that, I don't coach a coaching group where my son's in the coaching group. And if my son needs to be corrected, then I'm always going, my buddy Brent, who's one of my coaches everything with me, I'm like, hey, Brent, get Nicholas. Like, I don't need to get him all the time. When I get home, I want to be dad, and I want to encourage, and I want to love and inspire him. I don't always want to be grinding him, and I don't want him to be the thing that he thinks about. My dad's always hard on me. My dad's always riding me. So I think parents need to dial back expectations and realize, like, listen, if my son or daughter is competing as hard as they can, that's a win. If my son or daughter is handling adversity, that's a win. How do we help them get a little bit better and have success right now in little bitty victories every day that they go and compete?
Yeah, so as a parent, a sports parent, I played sports in college. I played at Cornell University, played Division I lacrosse, and so my daughter was a lacrosse player growing up, and I wanted her to be successful. Why? Because I earned my recognition, my self-worth through my sports success. So now with my daughter, if she was good, I felt good. I was now trying to get my own self-recognition, my own good feeling from my daughter performing well. I read a book by Joe Ehrman called Inside Out Coaching, and it was about being a transformational coach instead of transactional. I realized I was being transactional because I was getting my, again, identity from my daughter's success. I needed to be transformational and say it's about my daughter growing and becoming the best she can be, the best person she could be. It's not even about the sports. And that's when I changed as a parent, and then I helped her change. And amazingly, she actually started to play great and started to become actually a good player when
you backed off.
Yeah, when I backed off. My wife said, I got this, you step away. I stepped away. A year later, I came back as just an encourager, a supporter, the biggest fan. When she was upset, I was there supporting her. When she was benched, I was supporting her. Where in years past, it'd be like, why did you do that? Why did you make that mistake? I mean, I was the guilty party. So yeah. I think what you're saying is so important. You wrote that article that went viral about youth sports parents, about youth sports in general. I think this is such an important topic. You're an incredible voice on this, but we also have these coaches, right? We can get the parents acting right. But then we have coaches that think they're professional coaches. They're actually treating kids like professionals. You said about the draft. You talked about the training they're actually going through. Are we actually training kids too hard today at a young age?
I think so. I think the personal training stuff, you know, listen, there's going to be a time. And again, I think it's important to understand every age demographic is different. Like when they're third, fourth, and fifth grade and sixth grade, to me, like the game's supposed to be fun. So if you start making it about a personal coach, and listen, I got family members that do it. I got friends that do it. I mean, at a nauseating amount. I mean, it's unbelievable how many people I know that have personal coaches for their kids. And if you start doing that now, John, you know as well as I do, when I got to high school, it was a grind. When I get to college, it's a grind. So when you start that grind early, what you're going to do is you're going to grind people out, and you're going to make people quit because they're going to be too tired of working. I can't tell you how many kids I saw at the University of Georgia that were more talented than I was, but they were done. They had been pushed so hard by their parents, by everyone in their family, that they just didn't want to work anymore. And it was a huge deal, and the coaches tried as hard as they could to push them. But, you know, listen, let your kids be kids. Dads, moms, stay out of the way. Dads and moms, coaches, listen, I'm a youth league coach, and we do a lot of winning. And people get upset with us because we do a lot of winning, and we do a lot of practice. We also have ice cream trucks come out to practice, and snow cones come out to practice. And we do two-hand touch football a lot. And we joke around with the kids, and we play music at practice. And it doesn't have to be a grind. It can be fun. You can have fun and win. Dabo Swinney's proving that at the highest level. I mean, we always used to think it was Nick Saban and Urban Meyer, and you had to be a grinder, and it had to be all about business all the time. Look at Dabo Swinney. If you can build a culture where the kids know that you love them, that you got their back, that you can have fun, that you can dance, that you can cut loose, and you can play music, like, I think that's when you really get the most out of them. That's when they really want to play. They want to have fun, and they want to continue their growth in the game, other than going, dude, this stinks, man. And then when they get in eighth grade, when it matters, and they have to push themselves to make an eighth grade team, they're like, I'm sick and tired of doing this crud.
Yeah, Michael Gervais, who works with the Seahawks, sports psychologist, told me that you actually shouldn't make it serious from a competitive standpoint until college, believe it or not. He said it should actually be fun until you're above 18 years of age, which I think is amazing what the research shows. And yet we're making it such a grind early on. As coaches, then, what should you do to make it more fun? What should your number one goal be as a coach?
I think like my number one goal is to keep them busy. You know, kids don't like standing there. Kids don't like going through drills and somebody going in front of them and then they're standing there watching and then they start, picking their nose and playing with things and losing interest. So I think trying to find ways where you can keep everybody moving the whole time and, make sure you incorporate stuff that they love to do. Basketball, for example. I can't tell you how many times we play knockout in a practice. We play knockout at least 15 times in a practice. And it's because like every 5 minutes that we get to knockout and they're energized. They love it. They have so much daggum fun. The game's fun and they fly around and they think it's awesome. So I think find those things that they really love. That also gets them better. Listen, we do conditioning type stuff where it's not much fun. Make it a relay race. That's not that hard to do. You make it a relay race and it's competitive and it's fun. Now it gives them a reason to try a little bit harder. One of the things we do in football, we line them all up and do kind of relay races and they go to a cone and they'll cut and they'll cut and they'll cut. And at the end, there's a dummy and they just smash it because they love hitting dummies. They think it's fun. There's a ball on top and they recover the fumble. They pick it up and they throw it. So the challenge is to find those opportunities to where it can be work and it can be a grind. You have to push. I understand you have to organize things and do things the correct way and be structured because I have to do that as well. But find those opportunities when it seems monotonous where you can plug in a little bit of fun and you can throw a football on the ground and do a fumble drill where you're scrambling around to cover it and you're getting some conditioning. Just find those avenues, plug into those avenues, watch what kids like the kid faces up with the kids and talk to them and interact with them just like a human being. They don't want to just be out there going, I need to do this or I need to do that. So have fun with them.
What do you think the purpose of sports is? I mean, I should have probably asked that from the very beginning, but what's the purpose of sports?
The purpose of sports is to teach us more about life and to teach us about our success. The purpose of sport is to teach you, like I learned more from sport than I learned anything else in my life. And you learn how to handle failure. Like you learn what that feels like. You learn how to work hard. You learn how to work hard and have success, and you learn how to work hard and fail. I mean, these kids need to understand that I'm going to do everything I possibly can sometimes, and I'm going to come up short. And you know what? That means I got to work a little bit harder. That means I can always control how hard I work. And I tell my kids all the time, I'll say, what do you control? And they always say the same two things. I control attitude and I control effort. That's all I control. I can't control whether I win or I lose. I can't control if I scored 30 that game. Sometimes the game doesn't dictate for me to score 30. Sometimes I'm supposed to be a passer, So I think it's learning how to win, learning how to learning how to deal with failures, learning how to work hard, learning how to compete and what that looks like. All those things is what you want them to take away from the game. Is what I want is try to instill in all the kids that I work with.
If your son came to you and said, Dad, I don't want to play the sport anymore, would you be okay with that?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And I prefer it in baseball, actually. I would prefer him come to me and say that because I'm not a huge fan of baseball, but that's something that I would absolutely 100% respect. When I was younger, I wanted him to try everything. And that's another thing, too, is I want them to try and be exposed to things. And then first thing we started off with, my son, was soccer. And, at a young age, I think it's a great sport for him. I'd love for him to play soccer, just footwork and running all over the place. He doesn't want to play soccer, and he's very vocal about that. And so if he came to me and said, I don't want to play football, then that's fine. I got to deal with it. Now, listen, that doesn't mean he's not going to be busy. And you're not going to have to find ways to get physical activity because I'm a huge proponent of playing, and you're going to have to do things. You're not going to sit around the house and play video games. That doesn't work in my household. But 100% I'm okay with whatever he chooses to play or not play because he at this age now, my son's 9. He's been exposed to soccer, baseball, basketball, football, and now he knows what he really likes and doesn't like. Now, listen, there's a big difference between that and being a specialized athlete because that drives me nuts too. And we got so many people that want to specialize in sports at 9 years old, at 10 years old. Bro, you have no clue what your kid's going to be. You don't know how tall he's going to be. You don't know what he's going to end up liking in the end. So let him play everything. Don't, You don't have to grind on one thing right now and say, I'm going to do this. And I got news for you. You're not behind if other people are playing other sports. You're not losing anything. If you're good enough, in the end, you will be good enough. It has nothing to do with you putting him in travel ball 360 days out of the year. That is not going to get your kid a better chance to be in the big leagues. It's not.
When do we specialize?
I think when you get to high school, you start to see it more. And that's when I think you should start to focus. Now, listen, I say that. I'm all for every kid playing 3 sports in high school. I would love to see that. But I think you start to see in high school where they might lose the love for one sport over another. And that's fine. But, I mean, why basketball players and football players don't play that sport, but both play both of those sports? I have no clue. Well, I wish I would have played basketball more growing up. I love to hit people, and I love contact, and I love football. And I kind of missed out on the boat on basketball, and now I play a ton, and I wish I could go back and play more football. But I think as long as the kid wants to play every sport, that's fine. If you got a scholarship like I did my senior year for football, and I was going to school, and then I didn't want to play a sport, fine. I understand that because you're to that point. But, man, be a kid. Enjoy all the sports. Enjoy all that comes with it, because when you get to college, I promise you'll specialize in the sport. And I promise it'll be a lot of hard work, and it will be a grind.
It's a full-time job. Would you agree that if you don't love it, you'll never be great at it?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I think there are some people that love what comes with the game enough that they can still be great at it. For example, I think some people love attention. Some people love being good at stuff. Some people love money. You know, there are a lot of players that are in the NFL that don't necessarily love the game, but they love the paycheck they're getting. That's perfectly fine. I mean, but there are people that love the game, and when they love the game and you're motivated by the game and you care, man, that's one of the most powerful things. And listen, the people that were the most successful that I was around were the folks that loved the game. They loved to grind. They loved to work. They loved to compete. When the ball was out there, it was like, dude, that's mine. Like, that's how it should be. It should be you love that competitive nature. And listen, it comes with failures. I didn't whip everybody's booty in football. I didn't fire off and beat the offensive tackle every single time. Sometimes I failed, and sometimes I succeeded. My goal was just to fly around, have fun, and succeed more than I lost.
So now a message to the athlete, the student athlete, the child, the girl, the boy. What would you say to them now? What's their job to do in youth sports? Like when they show up every day, what do you want them to be thinking and doing?
I think the number one thing for all you kids out there and all you people that love sports, and really at any age, when you show up, understand that you're playing a game and that it's a fun game. So I want you to have fun. I want you to enjoy it. But also understand, too, that you also have to fly around and you have to have effort. Just like in life, when you show up, you have to have effort. You got to have effort in sports. And if you play as hard as you can, accept the results. Accept whatever happens. But if you don't play as hard as you can, you're never going to succeed. You're never going to give yourself the best opportunity to succeed. So go out there, have fun, try as hard as you possibly can. And if you fail, it's okay. You're going to fail in sports. But I tell you what, you really fail when you don't give as much effort as you can. You'll never be good if you're not going to be one of those that are willing to give their effort and maximize their effort.
All right, David, let's summarize now. What is wrong with youth sports and what can we do to improve it? And then I want to get specific and talk about what a coach can do, what a parent can do, and what a student athlete can do. We've talked about it, but I want to get specific. Yeah. So now what's wrong with youth sports and what can we do to improve it?
I think what's wrong with youth league sports is the expectations and the thought of your kid has to be something. You know, I think that's what's wrong. When you come into a game, first of all, you all know how kids are. Kids 1 minute can be something and the next minute they're nothing. They're completely something else. They're not nothing, but they're completely something else. So you can't expect it to be any certain way. Come to the field with no expectations. That to me would be something that would help people out, is show up and be an encourager, be a cheerleader, and come with no expectations of them making a play or not making a play or doing something they're supposed to do or not supposed to do, and let their coaches coach. That's something that I think you can change. Now, what was the other question again, John? Because I've been hitting the head a lot.
What can now coaches do?
I think coaches can demand effort and can push players to give effort. That's all that matters. It's just for them to try as hard as they can and and make sure that they're enjoying themselves. Make sure that they love the game, because they're not going to play if they don't love it. So coaches, make sure you're finding the kid, or make sure you're seeing smiles on the kids' faces. Make sure that they're not hating it. Make sure that they're having fun with their friends, because listen, joking around with their friends and messing around with their friends is a lot of the battle. Give them an opportunity to do those things. Demand the effort. Make sure they try as hard as they can, but make sure they're having fun.
And what's the one thing that you see a coach do that just really irks you, that really bothers you? When you see it, you want to say something to that coach.
I can't stand when coaches punish kids. And we scrimmaged a team, and the team will remain nameless. We scrimmaged a team before the season started this past year, and they were a really good football team. And we beat them. And we beat them by maybe a couple touchdowns in the scrimmage. Coaches are yelling at the kids, and they're yelling at them. One of the kids got hit because of a bad snap or whatever, or because they didn't do their job. And he goes, "You deserve that." And I was like, wow, you deserve that? Into practice, they're running suicides like crazy. We call them gassers. They're running up and down the field, up and down the field, up and down the field. And the thing I wanted to say was, Coach, you should be running, because we outcoached the heck out of you. Really, if you'd have put your players in a better position, they would have succeeded. But again, don't sit there and punish them and berate them, and don't be negative to them. You can find a way to coach a kid and be positive. You can make your point and be positive. If you want the experience to be positive, all of your comments should start with something positive. Say, "I loved your effort, but we need to do this. I loved how you fired off the ball. I have a lot of guys that jump off sides. Dude, I love that you want to get off the rock. Let's make sure we watch the ball." All right? You can always start with something positive, but don't punish for results. Don't punish for stuff like that, because then it becomes something that I don't think they look as forward to coming and giving their maximum effort, because they don't like it as much.
So you're the commissioner of youth sports in America. What does that league look like?
Listen, don't get it twisted. It's going to be competitive, brother. I mean, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. I mean, we're gonna have to try to find great players and great systems, but great coaches that literally can come beside players and teach the game. Like I ask my coaches all the time, I'm like, what do you want at the beginning of the season every year? I said, and this is youth league football, I know it's crazy, but what do you want the kids to say about you when the season's over? And I would be on a text feed with my coaches, and I'd text them individually, and I'd say that to them. And so then when they talk to them a certain way, I'd be like, all right, is that what you want? So I would want to be a league that's so competitive that people love the game. They're flying around. There's a lot of smiles. There's a lot of hard work, but there's coaches that are teaching the game, that are coaching them, that are coaching their effort, that are making sure that they're giving everything they got, but also understand that it's not going to be perfect. And if these kids love the game the next year, then we did our job. Like, they play another year longer. They're learning about those habits of winning, losing, failure, handling all that stuff. That would be a perfect league.
And what happens if the child's not very talented? Should they still be able to play?
Absolutely. They should, 100%. And especially at the young ages, because you don't know how big that kid's going to be. You don't know if he'll grow into his body and he'll get good. There's a perfect example. I have a kid that I coached about 4 years ago. He was really, really, really overweight, John, and he couldn't get through the drills. He was so overweight. And I brought him up in a huddle, and I talked to the kids, and I told them about eating right. And I was like, listen, guys, when you come out here and you give effort, it's a lot easier to give effort, and it's a lot easier when you're drinking enough, when you're drinking water, when you're not drinking all this garbage, when you're not eating all these candy bars, and you're not eating this stuff. And I just told him about good food. This kid literally comes back a year later. His mom comes to me. I was like, oh, my gosh, what happened to him? She's like, he's lost about 25 pounds. This is an 8-year-old, by the way. So he's a young kid, 7, 8-year-old. He's lost 20 pounds. He won't let me have sugary stuff in the house now because of what you told him. The kid was flying through drills. The kid was better. Like that. That's a perfect example of we have to, as coaches, meet these kids where they're at. Not all of them are at the same level. Not all of them understand the game enough to compete fully. So understand the kid. Try to motivate that individual kid, because y'all know, John, you might be motivated by something completely different than I'm motivated by. I mean, I know there are guys at Georgia that I could say, hey, dude, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll make all the plays today. You just sit back and be lazy. And that would light a fire underneath them. And some guys, it would shut them down. But you need to just come beside those guys and be like, hey, man, I need more from you. Like, listen, I need more from you. Just give me a little bit more effort. So the kids are no different, man. All kids are different. Find it. Maybe If they're not learning, and I tell my coaches this all the time too, John, if they're not learning, it's because you're not telling them how to do it correctly. That's the bottom line. This kid won't do this because you're not coaching it correctly. That's a fact. If say it another way, say it in a different language, put it in a Lego language, put it in a video game language, put it in something like that, because the bottom line is it's our job to coach and teach and find an example and find drills that they can learn the game and learn how it's supposed to be done, as opposed to them messing it up going, oh, this kid's stupid. He just can't learn. He can't do this. He can't do that. Well, put it in a 7-year-old's brain. Put it in the way they would conceptualize something. And remember, you're doing it wrong if they're not learning.
Should coaches teach character?
Absolutely. I think they should, 100%. Now, I think what that means to me is, how do you teach them to compete? How do you teach them what that looks like? I mean, that to me is your competitive character, your competitive nature. Like, teach them how to handle failure. I think that's 100% a lot of our job, to teach them all those different things. And it's not, listen, you teach them the game, you teach them a temperament, you teach them characteristics of the game. I don't know how in depth you can go, John, because some of them can't conceptualize things. And listen, I can't conceptualize some things that people say. So I think they're at different stages, they can understand different things, but they 100% can understand. Are you trying as hard as you can? Okay, if you don't try as hard as you can in this sport or in life or in the classroom, you realize that you have a less chance to be successful. Like, I can teach that to a 7-year-old. Like, that kind of stuff I think they can teach. I can teach them what it means to play hard and to have high competitive character and stuff like that. I just don't know how much you can teach them loyalty and brotherhood and some of that stuff.
Well, you could definitely teach sportsmanship and
yes, that's another great one, by the way. Yes, every time we go through a line, everybody's first thing I say to them is, "You better say good game." Like, there's nothing else to say. I don't need you to talk trash. I don't need you to say anything about winning, losing. Like, you just walk through and you say good game. That's it.
And how do we get them not to model the behavior of bad sportsmanship that we see on TV so often?
You don't accept it. Like, you can't accept that into your program. We have a kid on our team that had a tendency in another sport to flail his arms in basketball. I don't coach him in basketball. I coach him in football. He'd flail his arms and, be demonstrative. And I can talk to him. I'm not his dad, but I can talk to him. I'm like, what are you doing that for? What do you think that's going to – now, listen, he's getting it from his dad. His dad does the same thing. His dad will flail his arms and get upset. So when your kid usually shows a behavior, by the way, it's usually because you've done it to model that behavior for him. But 100%, those are the kind of things that you address. And you tell them, like, listen, what I talk to the kids about, when I talk to my son about, is that being a good teammate. Like in an NFL game, me and my son were watching an NFL game, and the ball is punt down to the 1-yard line. The guy falls in the end zone as he's doing. The other guy goes, man, and shakes his head. And you could tell he was kind of had a disdain for him. I'm like, Nicholas, do you think that's being a good teammate? Like, is that really – how do you think that makes that guy feel? Do you think he knows he messed up? Yeah. Okay. Well, how about this? How about you come beside and you go, hey, man, it's all good, dude. It's all good. Good effort. We'll get the next time. I was like, that's going to get you a lot further than anything else. So you see those behaviors, you attack them, you bring them to light in front of the team. And you're like, listen, guys, this is not how we're going to handle ourselves. You're not going to see me do that. You're not going to see me flail like this and go to the referees and say all and be negative and be demonstrative. We're all going to act like, listen, and same thing too with combating negative sportsmanship. When people give you personal fouls, that's something you got to learn how to play through that too as a competitor. I got to play within the whistle. I don't retaliate with that stuff. I go back to the huddle and I whip his butt in the play and I compete in the play. I don't hit him late. I don't seek him out. I just keep competing. Another example. Sorry, I'm rambling because I get excited, but another example. My son last year, we're in a scrimmage against a team, and my son's never been punched. And the kid punches him, and he's come back to the huddle, and he's crying. He's like, Daddy, he punched me. I'm like, yeah. I was like, guess what? Sometimes that's going to happen. There are people that are going to do things and say things in competitive atmospheres or in life that is going to take you back that you would never say. You have to be able to handle that. You walk back to the huddle. You walk away from that atmosphere, and you do your job, and you come back and attack the next time. Don't get upset. Don't judge what he's doing. You just come back and you do your job.
Love that. Now, your daughter is an athlete as well, right?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that.
Coaching hers a little different, brother.
Well, that's what I want to get. I mean, some people watch this, right? They have daughters. They have.
Yeah.
I just want to briefly touch on that. What does that look like as a parent, as a coach of a female athlete?
The amazing thing, John, is all these lessons and all these things that we're talking about, it comes so much easier when you have a daughter. And that's the amazing thing for me is that's what I have to do. I have to make myself step back and go, why is it so important for my son? Why do I want him to be something, but my daughter, it's okay for her to just be a participant? And that's what puts a lot of things in perspective in my life a lot of times. I'm the same way with my daughter. Listen, it's about your effort. Leah, are you going to go out there and are you going to play as hard as you possibly can? Are you going to have fun? And let them know again, I love you regardless. I love to watch you out there in that atmosphere regardless. And so it's the same standards. And now she's younger, so we don't do as many things. And, we're getting to the stage now with 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids now in football when you can start having more of those life lessons. But with her, because I've learned from my son really what not to do over the past, several years, and especially starting out, I just make sure that I do the same things and keep those same rules in place of having fun, teaching them to give maximum effort, and letting them know that regardless of whether they make a shot or miss a shot, I got their back. I love them, and I love to love watching them out there competing.
Awesome. David, you also have a family foundation. I just want you to talk about that briefly and just share what that foundation is all about.
It's the Pollack Family Foundation. And, one of the things that we're huge on is we're just huge on kids moving and kids being active. And childhood obesity is what we attempt to attack because we see a lot of video games. We see a lot of people in the house. We see less people outside moving. And just like that kid I told you about, a lot of parents don't use proper leadership with their kids and teaching them what they eat matters. I mean, literally, my kids are 9 and 7, and they can read the back of a label and tell you, oh, this has 20 sugars in it. I don't want it. And so it's really about taking kids and educating them and implementing programs where we can get them moving and learning and challenges. And so we try to do as much of that as we possibly can because it's not just kids. It's tackling the parents and kids and informing them and giving them ammunition and understanding when to eat, what to eat, how that affects your performance, how that affects your day, how that affects your weight and the goals you want to accomplish. So that's what we strive to try to do is try to help people accomplish that stuff and keep the world moving. Everybody needs to move more and more. The more we can get everybody moving, the better.
What are you excited about going forward on your journey in life?
Man, I'm excited every day. I literally don't know what tomorrow brings. I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 5 years. I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 3 years. But like right now, I love my job. I love my family. I love coaching my kids in youth league sports. And I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 2 or 3 years. I have a passion to possibly coach at a higher level. And right now, I want to coach my family, and I want to have them attacking every single day and living every day in the moment and fighting for every day, man. I don't have expectations and huge dreams down the road a lot of times, and I'm kind of a here and now person. And am I going to win today? And that's why the stuff I do on Twitter is the Everyday Counts Challenge is getting people moving every single day and realizing that today we have an opportunity to attack today. Tomorrow doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I mean, until that comes. So today we got a basketball game at 5:30. My little girl has practice at 6:30. So I'm going to go from my son's basketball game, coaching him, to coaching my daughter's basketball. And then I have an adult men's league basketball game at 8:30. So that's my day-to-day. It's going to be kids palooza, my wife palooza, and that's kind of how we live in the Pollack household is every day.
All right, so big question. You played football at the highest level. If you would have played basketball growing up, could you have played basketball at the highest level?
Oh, man, that's a tough question. I always bet on me, but here's the thing, bro. I'm 6'3". And that's funny. We had ESPN meetings yesterday, and I'm in there, and I'm looking, and Steven Jackson's in there. And I'm like, that dude was small in the NBA, and he was like 6'6", 6'7". I was like this. I'm like, that's crazy. I love basketball with a passion. I love having my competitive outlet, my competitive fix. I don't know if I'd have been good enough or not. I know one thing. I dang sure would have tried. I'd have been good on defense and then would have been an evolution on offense because that's what I'm doing. Now, I can say this, though. If you put the work in, and you really do put the work in, and you compete, and you try as hard as you can, that's the only way you're going to give yourself an opportunity. And I know I wouldn't have done that. So I can say that about it.
How's your jump shot?
The jump shot's good now, but again, I go to the gym 5 days a week and shoot 200 jump shots. So it's dialed in right now this time of year because it's league season.
David Pollack, always putting in the work. Thanks for your work. Thanks for your mission to enhance youth sports, to enhance the lives of children. You're a gem, and you're a blessing to the world. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Thanks for everything you do. I love reading your stuff, brother.
All right, thanks, brother.